comments and everything.
Yeah,
man, you could be in Colorado. You're in flannel. You're pure Colorado.
This is my man. If I can wear flannel every day, I guess I can. I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. But
what's the purpose of being an entrepreneur? You can do what you want. There's one word that I've come to embrace, and it's had a different meaning for me over the last couple of years. Freedom. You know, what is entrepreneurism? What really is it about? What is it? It's freedom. It's freedom to do what you want when you want it, within reason, not to hurt another person.
Yeah.
The freedom from, you don't have to worry about money anymore. That's a big freedom to me. The freedom to live life under your own terms, within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you do? Only an entrepreneur can do that. You know.
Well, yeah, man, it's so funny. I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday, and I was like, I've come to really take it for granted that, like, recently, like, you know, we were talking about, you know, my friend's having he's getting married, and so I was like, you know, they're kind of canceling the wedding. You know, as we're recording this, we've got COVID-19 and everything. So they got to move the wedding and all this stuff. And they're dealing with it. It's a real nightmare, right? So it's like they're dealing with all that.
I'll marry him.
You'll marry, just do it like this, right?
You know, in Colorado, a husband and a fiance and a fiance can marry each other. I mean, there's no rules about marriage in Colorado.
I love it, man. That's the way it should be.
You can jump the broom in this state. You know, that's all you got to do.
But it's like he was moving the wedding and stuff, and I was like, well, now I don't have to wear a suit, right? That's was my kind of joking response to it. And I was thinking about it, like, it's been over a decade since someone could tell me what to wear, and it's such a little
suit and
thing.
tie, baby.
It's such a little thing, but I was like, that is not the case for a lot of people, and I was like, I got to appreciate the fact that I can just. It's whatever I want to wear, right? It's a small thing, but that kind of principle applied across your entire life of, I just don't like people telling me what to do. I'm not good at it, you know? And it's like, I am very lucky. I'm very blessed. This has been a wonderful lifestyle for me. And very lucky. Very lucky. I try to appreciate it when I got it, you know?
Did you ever work for another company? And I used to have one company, and the boss always, what's the worst day and time to have a sales meeting? He'd have it Friday afternoon at 4:30. Are you out of your effing mind? All I'm thinking about is the weekend. And this guy,
you were just staring longingly at the parking lot, it's
like daydreaming out the window. And they're talking about, you know, I used to work for Swift Premium. You can't get excited selling selling hot dogs only has so much excitement to it. And I go to him, I say, why are you having a meeting? And I'm a punk kid, by the way. Okay.
Right.
I'm 20 something.
Right.
And I'm saying, you know, there's no retention on a Friday afternoon sales meeting. No. Maybe Monday morning might carry us a little while through the week and with some motivation. But on Friday, let's be honest. Well, that's the way we always do it here, you know. Yeah, and when
the worst possible way. That's amazing.
You know, that's the way we've always done it. You know,
Isn't that a great reason to do something?
No.
It's always been done.
Hey, we got some friends who've joined us here. Good morning, Travis Wilson. Good morning. Call me Claude, Travis. Ken, my buddy Ken Wright from Texas is here. And William Tingle, I am right there with you. Thank you, William. Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce somebody here. You know, I don't like other gurus. There's only maybe a handful of them I like. I just met this guy, and I like him. He's real, and I think he's got something to share. He's not one of these bullshit gurus. This is the Don Draper of Connecticut here. Who's Don Draper? Trivia question. If you guys, come on, type it in there, guys. Who is Don Draper? I'm a big Mad Men fan. Okay, love the way Coach P07 has joined us. Good, welcome. Good morning, Bill Pinnell. You do something I want to learn from you because I have ideas about marketing. I think to make money, you got to be a great salesperson. You and I did a podcast just the other day. What was that? Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, just Wednesday.
We had a great podcast. I mean, that was the fastest hour of my life. My God. And in order to be a great salesperson, you have to have great leads.
Yeah.
And I got I got a bug up my where, because I think there's a lot of garbage marketing out there and bad and garbage leads. No matter, and I want to work smart. I want to talk to people who are attracted to my product or service. Tell us a little bit about what you do that's unique. You're with, and let me say it right, AdWord Nerds, right?
AdWords Nerds. Yeah. So when we started the company, it was called Google AdWords. They switched it to Google Ads, leaving me with the name. But in any case, yeah. So AdWords Nerds, basically we're an agency. We'll also do coaching, but we work just with real estate investors. And even within real estate investing, we only do motivated seller leads. I will say, I've said that for years and years and years. We've actually broadened out. We started doing buyer marketing now because buyers is such a big deal, finding buyers, kind of our current market. That's been a big thing. But for years and years and years, it was motivated sellers. That's what we did. And usually the way I kind of describe it is, if there's a way to get motivated seller leads online, we do it, right? So we do SEO, we do YouTube, Bing, all that stuff.
But I want the how. I want to get do you just how do you differentiate to create, to attract, is the right word attract here, Dan? How do you attract create good leads for your real estate investors? What do you do that's unique?
Yeah. So the thing that made us unique very early, and the thing that's been our primary kind of differential approach, right? Because you got to think, like, when I got into real estate investing, I was not an investor, right? I came into it as an online marketing person with a background in, I was working with plastic surgeons and ambulance companies and whatever.
I'm a recovering attorney. I mean,
yeah, that's right. So yeah, I worked with some attorneys actually.
I'm sorry, but you have all my.
They were very sweet. They were lovely people, I gotta say.
Killer of them, you know that.
Yeah. What the whole idea was we were going to 100% focus in on this really narrow market, and what that allowed us to do was bring together probably the biggest data set on what motivated sellers do online outside of Google, right? So there was no one really focusing on that space yet. And so we just really, really focused in. And what we did was, we'll get a little technical, but we basically systemized the sort of back end of the process. So we could, let's say we wanted to run a test. We wanted to test an ad and see if it worked particularly well. So what we would do is, instead of dropping it into a client's campaign and saying, hey, let's see how it does in, Sheboygan or whatever, right? You just sort of test it there. We would test it simultaneously across 20 or 30 people at once.
What kind of ad what are we talking about here? A picture, words, a video?
It could be anything now. Back in the day, we started with just text ads. So you want to think like a Google ad would be, you go into Google, you type in, I want to sell my house. And right now, the way it looks is the top 4 results that you see in Google are paid ads, right? Everything below that is organic. And then all the way down at the bottom, you've got 4 more paid positions, right? So there's 8 paid positions on an average kind of real estate thing. So we would write these kind of text ads, and we would try to get people to click. And then they'd land on a website, right? A landing page. And we'd try to get them to convert, which just means call the client, email the client, right? That's the idea. So we would test ads, we would test landing pages, we would test bidding strategies, we would test different targeting keywords, we would test, whatever, different follow-up sequences. And what we found was that because we were so narrow, pretty much every client we would work with was almost identical. Like the markets were different, but every client was like, I want a motivated seller. I want to buy a house for 70 cents on the dollar. I want to flip it or wholesale it or whatever, or rehab it, So it was like, we were able to test way faster than anyone else and do it way more. And so we just really brought this very data heavy approach to it. And so it comes up now. It's really interesting. Like, I'll teach people how to do what we do, right? So we'll kind of teach our approach. Like we always say, like the agency is like an incubator. We test everything. It's a laboratory. When I find something that works, I teach it in my coaching programs, right? And I teach a lot of other ad people. So like ad people will come to me and say, teach me how to work with real estate investors. And I'll say, fine. And almost always what happens is, if someone's done this in different industries, they'll say, why you're doing it wrong? Like, why are you doing it like this? You didn't check this box, and you didn't do this thing, and you didn't set up the ads the way that everybody else sets it up. And the thing I always say is, Yeah, it's because I did that and it didn't test well. Like investing is just this really bizarre, weird industry where everything.
And what tests well? What tests well?
Okay,
what gets me to pick up the phone, to go to the web page, to click on the button?
Yeah.
How do you make them take that action?
So it depends a little bit on where you're going after, but let's just stick with Google because Google's the most common one. It's the one that we're kind of known the most for, right? So in Google, right, the difference between Google and like any other type of marketing that an investor would do, right? Let's compare it to direct mail, right? If I'm sending out direct mail, what do you know about the people you send your mail to? Well, so they're on a list that I got. So maybe the list is, maybe you're doing the thing where you're stacking a million lists on each other. And so this guy's got this amount of equity or this many like violations of zoning or whatever, or he's an out-of-state owner or whatever you know about him. That's what you know, right? He's in some demographic group. And you're going to send him a mail, and the thing you don't know about him is whether he wants to sell, right? That's the one thing you have no idea. I don't know if this guy wants to sell. I just know he's on my list, okay? In Google, it's the opposite. In Google, I don't know what kind of equity you have. I don't know if your house is falling apart. But what I do know is that you want to sell it because you just typed in, I want to sell my house, right? That's what you're doing. You're in this moment where you are looking for a solution to a problem. So in what works as a general kind of concept in Google is saying, understanding really well, lining it up so you know their problem, and then saying, here's the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is going to be as easy as painless as humanly possible, right? So what tends to work for us is we spend a lot of time trying to find the people with the highest motivation level, right? So spending a lot of time really saying like, who clicks the most? Who converts the most? Like, who are the people as a general kind of principle who are going to take action? And then being really aggressive about getting in front of that person early in the process. So being as high up as possible in Google so they see you first. And then doing a really good job on the page of saying, here's the potential problems that you're having, and here are the solutions to that problem, right?
Are you looking for the guy then who wants to sell his home, but he's clicking a lot of articles or videos on how to sell your home fast or how to hire the best realtor or what is the best strategy? You're looking for some kind of algorithm here, some kind of mathematical formulation here?
Generally, I mean, so you think like in Google, the way you primarily target people, and this is broadening over time, so it's changing now. But historically, the way you would target someone in Google is based on what they search for, right? And so you kind of think about there's a general kind of mental model you can apply to this, where every word you add to something in Google sort of decreases the amount of people that are going to search for that thing. So you can kind of think like the word like sell. Like if I just type the word sell into Google, billions of people do that like every day. It's ridiculous, right? They don't know how Google works. They're just whatever. And you say, okay, I'm going to get a little more specific. Sell my house. Now I know he wants to sell a house. Now the audience shrinks by an order of magnitude, right? Now, do they want to sell to a realtor? Do they want to sell a house in Animal Crossing? Because you can do that. That's a video game, right? So do they want to sell a dollhouse? Do they want to sell their house DVD set? House MD, great TV show, miss you. And then, all this stuff, right? So a little bit, more about them. If they say like, sell my house fast, right? You're adding a term onto it. The motivation level gets higher. I now know more about them, but audience size shrinks proportionally, right? So then,
sorry to interrupt, but does size matter?
Size matters.
Okay.
Size matters because one, of course, you got to think about like any sales thing, right? If I said, Claude, okay, look, you're a master salesperson. You've got to make $10,000 today, right? Otherwise, house is going to explode. There's a bomb on the plane. You've got to close $10,000. If I give you 10 calls, or if I give you 2 calls, your percentage chance of success, assuming those people are roughly the same in terms of quality, goes way up if I give you 10 chances, 10 at-bats versus 2 at-bats, right? You just have more opportunities. So in an audience with more people, we have more opportunities to get a click, more opportunities to get a close. But we're also balancing the fact that generally the bigger the audience, the lower the motivation level or the less good the lead. So if I said, okay, Claude, I'm going to change this a little bit. Again, same thing. You can have 10 calls to close 10,000, or you can have 2. But the people on the 10 calls are 50% less likely to close than the people on the 2 calls, right? So it's like your 2 calls have a higher close rate, but you only get 2 opportunities. And the 10 calls, it's like, well, okay, they're less likely to close, but you get more opportunities. Well, now you're weighing options. Now let's add a layer onto that, right? Adding the layer onto it as you've got to go out and get these leads, and it's an auction system, by which I mean basic laws of economics. As supply goes up, cost tends to go down, right? Assuming that demand is roughly similar, right? So I'm like, you're competing against 5 other people to get all the leads, right? How much you're going to pay for them. Now you got to pay for the phone calls. How much you want to pay for them. Now the 10 has less competition. You probably have to pay less for each one, but they close less often. And the 2, you have more competition, so they cost more, but they close more often. But you only get 2.
You're preaching to my choir right now. I'm big. I talk a lot about marketing,
Right.
leading up to good sales skills. But to me, I'd rather have 5 quality leads than 500 bullshit leads.
Right.
Give me 5 people a day to talk to, quality leads. So what you're saying is it better to spend $25 for 3, 4, 5 quality leads a day than $200 for 200 garbage leads?
Exactly. And this is the problem where you get into there's a kind of belief, and it's true, right, that online advertising for investors is expensive. And it is expensive, right? If you look at a cost per lead basis, it's like you're paying $150 to $250 a lead, depending on where you are in the market, right? If you're in Houston right now, you're paying $250 a lead. It's kind of what you're paying, right? But the flip side of it,
Is
right,
that a Google lead?
in Google, right? Yeah. So national average is around $100 to $150 a lead in Google.
Okay.
And it goes up and down per market. There's more competition, people willing to spend more, right? Obviously, if you're going to make $50K on a deal, you're willing to pay more for a lead than someone who's only going to make $10K on a deal, right? So prices go up and down, right? So a lot of like what someone like me does is managing this cost and trying to understand like what's the payoff, where's the sweet spot, all the stuff, right? But so let's say, okay, yeah, you're paying $150 a lead. That's a lot compared to a direct mail lead you might get for $30. But then if I say, but you only have to talk to 10 of them on average before you close, well, it's like, okay, well, 10 times 100 is 1,000. So that's $1,000 cost per deal acquisition. If you have to speak to 100 leads or 50 leads, right? I think the national average for direct mail is probably 30. So let's say you got to talk to 30 leads and they cost you $30. Well, yeah, that's a $900 cost per deal acquisition, but those costs per deals are essentially identical, right? So it really comes down to, online advertising is a game of understanding the numbers and like understanding the metrics and how it works together and how you kind of dial those in. And the thing I always tell people is there is no like one way to do it, right? If you come to me as a client, you say, I've got $100,000 to spend every month. I need to do 100 deals every month, or, the mob is going to kill my family or something. I'm like, okay, that's one strategy. And I have students that come and say, I can only spend $500 a month. And I'm like, cool. That's a different strategy. And like, yeah, $100,000 guy is going to close more deals, but you can both close deals profitably.
Can they close more? Can they close more deals because they have more leads? Is that what you're saying? More quality?
Yeah.
Leads?
You want to think like money buys speed online. So it's like if I have $10,000 and my leads cost me $100 a piece, I can get X number of dollars a month. If I have $1,000, I can get the same leads, but I can get less of them per month, right? So all it does is slow you down. It doesn't make I think a lot of people think that, well, that guy has so much money, I can never compete with him. And I'm like, no, it's not the case. You compete at the pace that makes sense for you, right? I mean, you could put $100K on a credit card right now and do it. Do you want to? Probably not. That's a terrible idea, right? Let's not do that. Let's go at the pace that makes sense for you and make money on your terms. And then if you want to reinvest in it, do it, right?
So if I'm a new client, I come to you. I just went to the whiz bang walk on hot calls. I gave a guru all this money how to do lease purchase wholesale real estate. So I got the strategy thing down.
Yeah.
And then I need leads. I come to Dan Barrett. I say, Dan, I've got what you just said, $500 a month. Is that a good average? $6,000 a year for marketing. And I need some leads so I can do my whiz bang lease purchase wholesale real estate real deals. What are you going to be able to provide for me if I come to you like that?
Yeah. So someone comes to me.
Is that fair? That maybe you don't look for that kind of.
That's fair. Yeah, it's fair. I mean, so specifically, if you're asking, come to me or just like
come to you, because I want people to discover AdWords nerds. But man, it's so hard to say. We have a lot of people who watch me in real estate. I'd say 50-60% of my clients are in real estate in one form or another. They need leads. I talk about organic creating leads, which is a lot time consuming and a lot of work and creativity. Whereas a lot of people would rather write a check and get an expert like Dan Barrett to create quality leads for them. Am I right? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I want to be, it's funny, man. We talked about this when we were on the podcast earlier in the week. We were talking about being the worst salesman, and you were saying like, oh, back in the day, reformed worst salesman in the world. So, and this is why the salespeople on my team are always, don't let me talk to anybody. And I'm gonna make this like super clear, because I want to express this to the audience, right? Because I'm an evangelist for this type of marketing. I'm going to talk about how people work with me. I am not the only person in the market. You don't have to work with me. There are many options. So I don't want people to say, oh, well, I wasn't a good fit for like what Dan said, therefore I can't do this type of marketing, because it's not true. Right. So I just want to put that out there. Right. So, but specifically where people talk to me, if you want us to do it for you, it really only makes sense if you're looking to spend about $2,000 a month in ads. Right. So it's like, if you're looking to spend that much just in ads, it makes sense. And this is a general principle for me. That's when I think it makes sense to bring in someone to do it for you. If you're below that point, right, the reason that I'm kind of like less sold on it is the marginal utility of the money you're spending on the management could probably make you more money just paying for more ads up to that point, right? There's a point at which it's like, look, like I invest money in like a 401k or whatever. I don't really need to pay somebody like 10% of my retirement fund to manage it. There's not enough management work to justify that fee. So that's kind of how I feel about that. But generally, if someone like that came to me, I'd say, cool, jump into coaching program. Most of the time we do the ad setup for them. So we set up everything for them. We set them up with our keywords, our ads, we put scripts in it. And then I have a very step-by-step process I lead people through where I'm like, the goal is you're going to spend 1 to 2 hours a month on this. So it's like when you're kind of comfortable with it. That's what. Did
you just say 1 to 2 hours a month?
A month, right? Because
really, I spend at least an hour a day.
Well, so here's the thing, man. I'm realistic with two things. One is strategically, whenever you have a system that gives you a lot of feedback, right? So AdWords is a system that gives you a lot of feedback. You can touch a button and something happens, right? And then you touch a button, something else happens, right? It's very similar in a lot of ways to investing in the stock market, right? So if you got like one of these like E-Trade accounts, and I can make a thing here, and something happens to my account, and then something else happens to my account. Well, what do we know psychologically about that? If you are glued to you've got 4 monitors and you're watching every movement of the market and you are reacting to every movement of the market, you underperform the market nearly 100% of the time, right? Mm-hmm. This is like a well-known investment principle, right? It's better to just stick it and not react to it. Like you can look at it once a month or once a quarter or whatever, but the more you react to it, the more you tend to over optimize it, right? And Google Ads almost the exact same way. There's a sweet spot. If you are not a professional, there's a sweet spot at which, like your leads went down one day and you could have jumped in and made a bunch of changes to try to fix it. But in reality, it was just statistical noise. So you ended up like overreacting, almost like a hypochondriac going to the doctor and sort of fixing a problem that didn't exist. And that kind of drives you to underperform. So that's one of the reasons I say like 1 to 2 hours a month is I don't want you touching it every day. Once it's set up and it's good, I mean, once we're kind of past that initial stage, don't bother, right? Let it do its thing. I mean, the other thing is that I'm realistic in that most investors are not super technical and don't love technical stuff. If you love it and you get off on it, like I enjoy it. So I'm like, I want to get in there and like mess around. If you don't, man, it's like, it's like, here's the metaphor I use is like, I don't have a big lawn and I have a lawnmower and I still pay someone else to mow my lawn because I hate it. I just don't want to do it. Right. So it's like, it's one of these things where if I said, hey, I'm going to build a system that takes you 8 hours a week, one, I don't think it would do much better. And two, I don't think anyone would do it. And I need people to be engaged with it at least a little bit, right? So for me, 1 to 2 hours is the sweet spot, right? So we burn like every extraneous thing away from that process. Anything that doesn't directly result in motivated seller leads and deals, I don't teach. I don't teach Google shopping ads. I don't teach, like YouTube retargeting in this thing. I don't teach you how to mess with every tiny settings. I'm like, this is the 80-20. It's like, here, get in. The things that make you money are these 5 things. Do these 5 things. That's exactly what I teach, and ignore everything else because it doesn't matter, right?
So do you prefer to teach you? So you either teach people how to do it themselves, or if they have the budget, you do it for them. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, how
do they find you? What is it? AdWordNerds.com. Is that it?
So AdWordsNerds.com. So AdWordsNerds.com.
I'm going to put that in the chat box here. AdWordNerds.com.
Oh, you know what we have? I think it still works. I'll tell you, one of the things that I irrationally buy, like we all have, it doesn't work anymore. Never mind. I bought motivatedsellerleads.com and I've yet to use it for anything. I've got to use it for something. So sooner or later, I know it doesn't work right now, but yeah, there you go. AdWordsNerds.com. Perfect.
We have a question here from Kenny.
Sure.
Kenny Wright. He said, what are top three got to niche words? I can't understand the sentence here. I think what are the top 3 niche words to attract motivated sellers?
Yeah, so it's interesting, man. It kind of depends on how you want to parse the question, right? Are you going for volume? Are you going for conversions? Are you going for cost? I'll tell you what I did, and I'm going to give this out to you guys. People will be mad at me.
Somebody once told me that the 2 top search words on the internet are free and sex. And somebody told me once, if you had a web page that said free sex, you'd probably have the top ratings or something.
Well, yeah, you have a lot of competition too. So, what I'll do is I'm going to we have I wish I had a link for you. I will actually I'll read this out to you. So we do a kind of weekly thing for us where we take all of the kind of data from all of our clients kind of across the board. And then we sort of crunch the numbers. So every week, what the team does is take all the data that we get in, update our keyword selections, really try to look at what we're doing. The big ones, so I'll give you kind of a general principle, and then I'll give you kind of some specific ones. So my general principle is that pretty much any keyword that involves the word buy, so like home buyers, buy my house, stuff like this, so stuff that investors typically target, tends to generate a lot of noise. So they tend to be not particularly cost effective. The most cost effective for generating leads tend to be things like sell my house fast. The exception to the buy rule is the word home buyers, all one word. So home buyers, right? And then what tends to work well is some variation on we buy houses, we buy ugly houses. So like a general principle that I'll typically give people is if you are in a market where you have a competitor that advertises a lot, like if they do radio, if there's a lot of like, I buy houses, sort of like bandit signs, what people will do is Google that stuff because they don't know what it is, right? So sort of an easy way of kind of jumping the queue is saying like, if you've got a competitor that advertises a lot, just target their name or target their advertising phrases and you'll kind of pull stuff up. But sell my house fast, we buy houses, home buyers, we buy ugly houses. These are all like really safe bets. Now the catch is They're safe bets because they have a lot of searches, and lots of searches attract lots of competition. It's like if you're in a part of the ocean where there's a lot of like little guppies swimming around, it's like, oh, there's probably sharks hanging out.
We'll get something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's good, but you got to watch your costs as always. We did a whole like keyword report thing, and if I can find it, I will give it to you guys. We actually don't offer it anymore. And I did, if you Google my name and you Google investor carrot or something like that, I did a really long kind of keyword thing for them a while back. That's still very, very accurate. So you can go and find that as well. I wish I had a link for you, but yeah.
So the search words that what Kenny was asking about, it really pertains to what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to find buyers, you want or sellers of homes, you want people who want to sell it fast or get quick money, or some kind of verb or verbs or adjectives that stimulate a response right away.
Yeah, it's like if you want to think about how you filter for, oh, and by the way, I did find the link. So the link is if you go to adwordsnerds.com/keywords. So just go to adwordsnerds.com/keywords. There's a thing where you can pop in your email, and it should let you download like a whole keyword report that we did. So that'll be like a whole sheet, and it'll have like 100 keywords or something in there. Yeah, you want to try to filter for motivation level, right? I was thinking about like real estate marketing is the kind of like like the dartboard. It's a really good kind of metaphor for it. In the center, right, you have the highest motivation level leads, right? These are the people that are like, I would say like they've got to leave the country. Someone's coming to kill them, right? That the drug cartels are.
You're so negative today.
All my metaphors. I've got to sell this house tonight because I gotta flee the country.
And what percentage? And what is that? 1% maybe?
You gotta think it's the smallest part of the dartboard, right?
Okay.
So
the center part, the sweet spot.
Right? And then the ring around that are the people that are like, they still want to sell, they still want to sell quickly, but they don't need to sell tonight, right? And then there's more of those people. And then the ring around that is the people that want to sell. They don't know if they want to sell to a realtor or to an investor. They're still trying to make decisions. That's a far bigger audience, right?
And call it the emotional quotient. Are they like a barometer? We see, are they an 8, 9, or 10? They're hot. They're ready. They want to buy it now. They want to buy the car, sell the home. Or are they a 1, 2, or 3? They're just fishing right now, just curious or killing time.
So it's like you always want to think about lowest cost per deal acquisition you get by targeting the tiniest part of the billboard, right? Or the dartboard. And the highest number of deals per month you get by targeting the biggest chunk of the dartboard, right? But that changes what you pay and what you expect. I don't expect the EQ people who have a 1 or 2 to convert at the same rate as the people EQ of 9 or 10.
Right.
I expect different things. So a lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, my site, 5% of people that land on my website contact me. That's the conversion rate, what we call the conversion rate. So the conversion rate on my website is 5%. 100 people land on the website, I get 5 leads. Is that good? And I was like, I don't know. Is it? It's kind of like, it depends on who the people are, right?
Can I ask you $1 million question? Can I ask you $1 million question then?
Of course.
Because I talk to a lot of people in real estate, and they spend an enormous amount of money on bad marketing. Yes. Or marketing where the leads are very weak. And then the other part about the sales, the conversion is also, even if they have the best leads in the world, can they convert them? So the $1 million question here, is it worth the money to go to a Dan Barrett and say, I want to spend $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month and get those quality leads, which have a much higher conversion rate and hopefully pay for themselves? Isn't that the whole point?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good question. And again, so I'll play my worst salesman in the world, right? I'm supposed to say, of course it is. Here is the hard truth that almost no marketing person will ever say, which is that.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting the truth now. I gave him 2 bottles of this and a shot of sodium pentothal. Okay, Dan, go for it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
The hard truth is, it depends. It always depends. It depends on you. So it depends on, for example, how serious are you about online marketing as a channel for the next 5 years? I say, like, think 5 years out. Don't think of this month. Think 5 years out. How important is it for you to be online in this way? By the way, there are people doing dozens of deals a year that don't have a website. They don't have a website. They don't do anything online. You don't need a website. You don't need to do online marketing. So is it important to you? What's your risk tolerance? What's your budget? How fast do you need the payoff? And then what is the opportunity cost? If you're going to give me, let's say, $5K to work with, were you going to invest that in something that was definitely going to get you a return, and now you're not going to do that? Is that the best choice for you right now? So it really depends. And then there's another layer on it where you could come in and do everything right. And if your market is just a bloodbath, right, there's a limitation on what you could do. I always say, like, look, Warren Buffett is the most successful value investor of all time, right? He is, if someone came to you and said, do you want Warren Buffett to manage your stock portfolio? I would personally say, yes, that would be nice. Let's do that. But there are days where Warren Buffett loses money in the stock market because the stock market went down, and that's just how it is, right? So it's like, the thing I always tell people is, if you look at our track record and say, the vast majority of our clients get a return on their investment, and the vast majority of our clients continue to invest in the marketing that we're doing, and we have a really high retention rate, and I'm very happy with our success rate. But if you go to my website and you look at our testimonials, those are all the people that had success. You don't see the people that didn't have success. I didn't put those people on the website, right? So it's really critical for me. Like, I truly believe in, like, ethical marketing is about helping people make the rational decision that's in their own best interest. So I always say, like, you can look at someone's testimonials page. It's going to look amazing because that's what we selected to put on the website. But, like, long term, you got to think about, where are all the people that aren't on that website? There are people that work with us that don't have success. So the thing I always tell people is, you've got to be okay with that. You've got to be willing to test it and take the risk. And it is a risk, right? So the thing for me is, I so deeply believe in the channel, and I so deeply believe that investors need to be online, and they need something like that. But I'm not going to tell you need to work with me, because I don't think I'm 100% rational about it. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Sort of.
It does. My thing is, everybody's always talking about leads all the time. Oh, I need more leads. We all saw Glenn Ross. I need better leads, right? You remember that movie?
Yeah. Glengarry leads or whatever.
We need the better leads. I have a theory that you could be the smartest guy in the room. No, and you heard me on the podcast say something similar to this. I've met people very smart. They know all the strategies in real estate and all the contracts and the forms and everything. Then the next step is the marketing. We need leads. And I think they could spend the most money. You could give them great leads, but what's the next step? The conversion, the salesmanship, the persuasion. So can you take so you could give them the best leads in the world, Dan? Can they still convert them, monetize them?
Well, that's it. That's
a problem you face with a lot in your industry.
It is. I mean, I think the one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you, and I think we mentioned this briefly, but I don't know how deeply we got into it, was when I started doing this, we would get really mixed feedback, right? With some people would be like, I just did like 7 deals. I love you. I'm naming my kid, Frank AdWords Nerds, whatever. And, people would be really psyched. And then other people would be like, well, these leads are bad. They're bad. And we were really confused for a long period of time. This is how I am not a smart man. I would say, like, I'm where I am primarily through bashing my head against problems for a long time. So it was like, we finally started interviewing the people that were having bad leads and saying, okay, I totally get your leads are bad. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix this problem. So, like, what did they say when you called them? And they would say, like, well, I didn't call them. And I was like, what do you mean you didn't call them? And they're like, oh, well, I called him once, but he didn't call me back. And I was like,
okay, is that
what do you say the next 10 times you call them? And so over time, what I've realized is people don't really understand, one, how to follow up effectively. And two, they don't necessarily understand what to say when they get them on the phone, right?
Yep. And that's my theory.
Yeah. And so, there have been clients that we've worked with who will literally 1 out of every 6 leads they will close. And this is not, by the way, I'm including like people who are other investors saying, let me take you out to lunch. Like I'm not filtering for lead quality at all. I don't mean 6 qualified leads. I don't mean 6 good leads. I mean, literally any 6 people they talk to from Google Ads, they would close one.
And let's just say they're paying you $5,000 a month. You're giving them 6 quality leads a week or a day or whatever you do, and that close results in $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in commissions. If they're a realtor or an investor or rehabber or whatever, that makes good financial sense to me.
I mean, they're printing money at that point.
They're printing money. It makes sense. I spend $5,000, I make $20,000. Who cares how much you spend in advertising? To me, advertising for most people was because they do so much bad advertising,
right?
Bad quality leads, that it's just wasted money. But if you can get good quality leads and you have some good sales skills, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Who cares how much you spend if you recoup it and then you make even more? You make a profit. Isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we were spraying water into a leaky bucket, right? And it's just not effective, right? If you're trying to put out a fire and you're got the hose and you're sort of filling the bucket with the thing so you can take it over there, and there's no bottom on the bucket, it doesn't matter how much water you put in, right? It just all goes all over the place. So one of the reasons I was so excited to kind of talk to you and sort of bring the guts sort of sales method, right, to our clients was that we just realized that, I'm not saying by any means like that what we do is perfect or whatever. I'm not saying that. We make constant improvements. It's part of our kind of business philosophy. But one of the things I realized was my job is not to get you leads. My job is to get you deals. Right? That's why you really hired me. People really hire me because they want deals. They don't really want leads. They don't care about clicks on their website. That's stuff I have to care about in order to generate money for your bottom line, right? And so we just realized like sales and follow-up are this like hidden part of this process that I didn't even think about. I just assumed that people were doing it. And so we've done more and more work on that with our clients. And
it's the $1 million skill to me. Yeah. It's the missing link. And except for a few people, you and me and a few other, very few people, there's some very expensive seminars and gurus and coaching programs out there. And they talk mostly 90% motivation. Oh, you can get rich. Look at John and Mary. And here's our testimonials. How did you do it, genius? What did you do on the phone? What did you, as you said, follow up? What words did you use to get that person to like and trust you, so that you could get a commitment in one phone call? And this, to me, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how great your widget is. It doesn't matter how much money you spend on leads or the quality of the leads if you cannot get one person to say yes.
Yeah, man. It's and I think part of the issue too is it's just like you said, when you look at the way that investors are marketed to, right? There's this kind of implicit promise that people are going to call you and they're going to be so desperate to sell. All you're going to need is the pen.
Yeah. Right? All I got to do is respirate. Oh, here, and we call that, what do we call fall down, lay down clients. Okay. And there's some like that, if you stand on the street corner and ask enough pretty girls for a kiss, sooner or later, maybe one will kiss you. Unfortunately, the other 99 will beat the crap out of you. And that's the risk of marketing. So can't we work smarter? You provide quality leads, and then we convert them with the study of quality salesmanship, which I think we've lost in society right now. I think it's, I speak to so many well-meaning people. Okay, they don't want to make $1 billion. They want to just put mac and cheese on the table, take care of their family, pay their bills. And no one is talking to them about that. Hey, here's a lead. call this lead out. I talk to, you know what drives me nuts? And this is probably for you too. You give them leads, and do you ever check, when did you call them, genius?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I couldn't, I had to walk the dog. There was a sale at Walmart. I'll call them in a day or two. And then 3 weeks later, they call those leads. How pertinent is it to call the lead today?
I mean, so we always talk about, not just today, we talk about the 5-minute rule. It's, did you call them within 5 minutes of the time they filled out the form? Not even called you.
Yeah.
All they did was send you an email. You got to call them within that 5 minutes. The whole reason we have that was that client that we were talking about that was closing 1 out of 6, which I won't share because we don't work with them anymore. But it was a very prominent kind of investor, kind of coach in the space, who kind of brought a lot of that in house. They're still friends with him to this day, right? But very good at what he does. And we interviewed him to be like, "How are you closing so many?" And he'd be like, "The primary thing is we call him back within 5 minutes. Everybody gets
so hard. I mean, just if you had to do one thing just well, could you just pick up the phone and call a lead today, right now? I talk about, I love to run every day. And I have this Apple Watch, which has a phone, which has a phone in it, actually.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm running and people will call me. I have made sales because I was accessible, or I could call somebody back, even though I was in my car, was shopping, or something like that.
Yeah.
It just amazes me that people immediate follow-up is so important in sales.
Yeah. And I think it's really just a matter of expectations, right? I think if you expect, like you said, that people are going to fall down for you, right? When it doesn't happen, you think that the problem is with the lead or it's with the person. You don't say, like, how can I improve this process? And so, and the thing is, like, and look, this is one of the things I love about you and the stuff that you teach and the stuff that you promote, right? You promote like real stuff, which is like legit. It's hard work. The problem is, for marketers, it is very hard to market. Hey, like, I'm going to make you rich. It's going to take you a couple of years. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard work, but you got to, you put in the sweat and tears and you'll do it. Nobody wants to buy that, right? So what you market is, hey, like, you can do a deal in your sleep. Let me teach you, right? It's my new sleep deal, the sleep deal system, right? And it's got to be easy, and it's got to be instantaneous, and you've got to cater to people's worst impulses, frankly, right? And so this is one of the things I was talking before, and I was saying, you notice, like, I like literally push people away, and I'm like, only work with me if it makes so much sense. You're going to like hit yourself with a hammer if you don't do it. Anything else in that, take it slow. We'll walk, it's like, because it's so easy to just say, like, I could come on here and say, and quote you my best ever client's results. Did you know that I get leads that close 1 out of 6? Can you imagine what you would do if a deal only cost you $600? Well, I could do that for you overnight, and it would be BS. Wait, can I swear on this show? You asked me if you could swear on my show. Can I swear on your show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's bullshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I hate that. So I want to be not that. And I think if you're watching this and you all you do is take that mindset and you'll be like, look, if it came easy, everybody would be doing it. It wouldn't be easy anymore.
Yeah.
So it just changes the whole game. And the thing I always tell people too is the bar is really low. Your competition sucks. They suck.
They really do. You reminded me of something before. I have to share it. Talk about bad language. I had a mentor, Max, who taught me sales. Most amazing salesman I've ever met. I mean, he'd make more money in one phone call than I could make in a whole year at a corporate job with a suit and tie. And he used to always say to me, because I'd come back bitching about the prospects. Oh, they're this, they lie, they this and that. He says, no, Claude, there are no bad prospects. There's only shitty salesmen like you.
I mean, it's like, even if that's not true, telling yourself that it's true changes the whole game, right? Because you start to take responsibility and you start to look for, how do I adapt to it? How do I get over it, right? And when I always say, like, again, we said this 2 seconds ago, but right. So the bar is low, meaning that your competition is doing the bare minimum. So when you show up and you do more than the bare minimum, people are like, whoa, wow, like that is That's a 10. Wow, great for you. Like it is just it's shocking to me. So it doesn't have to be like, I don't want to make it seem like it has to be this like, Sisyphean task where it's going to be a nightmare and you're going to have to bleed out your eyes. You can never see your kids again. It's not like that. But you just show up and actually give two shits about what happens. And like people are all of a sudden, it's a totally different industry. Right?
You said something before. There is no the competition's garbage out there, something to that effect. I really believe there's no competition. I am a one guy. I work in my home offices in Colorado and California and stuff. I talk to people every day. I have wonderful conversations. Do I close everybody? Of course not.
Right.
But the thing about it is, though, I have fun in my phone calls. I do close a lot of people. I do have a very high close ratio because of the type of marketing I do and everything like that. But my competition, they're reading scripts. They're not acting quickly. We talked about follow-up. Their follow-up's atrocious. Right. And they're talking to these people like they're a new species that just crawled out of the Connecticut quagmire or something. Okay. I believe in empathy. What does that person think or feel? And can I relate to it and make them understand that I know how you think and feel, and maybe here's your problem. Maybe if we can come up with a solution, can we work together? Justin Chamness has a good statement here. People are truly craving authenticity. It's a different world than it used to be. If everybody sounds the same, the prospect doesn't react. And I was going to ask you about that. So many of the ads sound the same. Sell your home fast. I buy ugly homes. How does that dilute the effectiveness of that type of advertising when everybody's doing the same thing?
I think it does. I think it does for sure. I think the place where it really, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it here. A while back, I was building out the kind of search engine optimization part of a course that I was building, right? So I was like, I'll just walk through this whole process where you can look over my shoulder. So I got an Investor Carrot website, right? Set it up. And I was like, I'm going to go through and I'm going to optimize the whole thing. So I set up a real website. It was Barrett Home Buyers, right? Not a real company. I'm not an investor. I've never invested, but I was like, I'm just going to show you how I would build out the thing. And then I forgot about it. Completely forgot about it. Paid it. I literally stopped paying for it. I paid for it for 3 years. This stupid website I paid Investor Carrot for because I'm terrible at canceling things. So anyway, they made a ton of money off me. You're welcome, Trevor. But anyway, so I set up the site, forgot about it. And what started happening was I started to actually get leads. So about 6 months after I set it up, I got an email that's like, hey, I have a house. And I was like, oh, I'm not really an investor. Like I felt bad. So I was like, I had to leave the site up so my students could still see it. I still had people coming through the course. So I was like, what I'll do is I'll just find a local investor. I'll just search Sell My House Fast, Connecticut. I'll find a local investor and I'll just say, can I just change the email so it goes to you and it'll just be your lead. You don't have to pay me, whatever. It's not a thing. I just I want these people to actually talk to someone. So I went on, I probably opened up like 10 different investor websites in Connecticut. And I went probably through 7 before I saw an actual human face. Everybody's a stock photo, right? I went through probably 7 or 8 before I was told the name of the person I would talk to. Every site was like, Connecticut buys houses. We buy houses, Connecticut. Call our team. You will talk to us. And I'm like, who's us? Like, who am I talking to? And then I called probably like 4 or 5 people, emailed. And I said, I know this is a weird email. I just set up the site. I'm not really an investor. I just need someone to send the leads to. It's free. I'm not going to charge you. I don't need a percentage. I want these people to talk to somebody. I didn't get a single call back. Didn't get a single email back. Right. So
what do you attribute that to?
Just, I think laziness, honestly. Well, let's put it this way. And this is something I believe very deeply in. I think investing for decades has been an industry where the primary pitch was, you want to sell your house? I buy houses cash. I can make an offer today, no paperwork. The pitch is just what I do. Hey, did you know I can do this cool thing? It's going to solve your problem in a cool way. And that was enough. We are in a time right now where Trulia's in the investing game. Zillow's in the investing game. Huge brand names that people know, right? Open Door, Knock, all these kind of Silicon Valley things. And you've got more local investors than ever before. Investing used to be like this weird niche thing. It is a big thing. There's a literal TV network that basically shows people flipping houses all day, every day. Mm-hmm. People know what investors do. So now it's not just about showing up and saying, do you know I can buy houses for cash? Because they know that. And they already know 10 other people that do that. Now it's a question of differentiation between services, right?
Are you talking about brand? Are you talking a little bit about branding here?
I am absolutely talking about branding. And not even, it's like branding. I always associate branding with like Coca-Cola got the blimp to fly over the football game. And like, that's one kind of branding. But branding also like, what's your name? Who are you?
I want to ask you, you're a marketing expert. I brand my name Claude Diamond. I just want people to say, Claude is a guy who returns phone calls. I can have a conversation with him. And that's my brand, as opposed to saying, I do sales training, real estate training, this and that, or I'm an investor. What kind of branding gets the best effect in advertising?
For investors specifically, I think what it is anything that humanizes you.
Ooh.
So I'll give you a really good.
So we're talking emotion here now, more than anything.
I think 100% emotion. I'll give you 2 examples. Investors that came through and crushed it, right? Crushed it in our program. And this is not, by the way, the stuff I'm going to tell you that they did, not stuff that I told them to do. This was stuff they already had. They were doing SEO and kind of ads and stuff, and they were just killing it. So I went to go check out, like, okay, what does your stuff look like? First one was a guy down in Texas. His website was Nurse Buys Houses. He was a nurse during the day. He was kind of buying houses as a side job.
Nurse buys houses. I love that.
So he would show up to the house in scrubs. His logo was like a dude in scrubs.
Oh, I love it.
He had his whole story on his website. He's like, look, I'm a nurse. I love being a nurse. I'm not going to stop being a nurse, but I kind of like saving up for retirement. So I'm buying houses. I'm local. Like, here's my deal. And people loved it. They sold to him all day, every day. He built a team. He ended up building a team because he had a story. People connect. They got it. It's different.
How about the other one? Nurse, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're hitting a hot button with me.
Yeah.
If you put a caring nurse buys houses today with the pandemic, we're in a love affair right now with healthcare workers, truck drivers. I kiss the feet of the clerk at the Safeway. Thank you for showing up and
well, maybe don't actually kiss their feet right now. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
6 feet away. From 6 feet away, you
gotta have a sip of coffee after that. The thing about it is, if you put it, today we have a love affair with healthcare workers.
Yeah.
And if someone said nurse, doctor, EMT, ambulance driver loves buying houses or something like that, yeah. I think that's going to make me call that person more than the generic ad.
Yeah. It's just different. And it's real. Right. It's just like you're saying, authenticity, right? I think Justin was the one that mentioned authenticity before. The other woman, sort of like complete opposite, but I loved her thing. I forget what the actual website was. I don't think it was named anything super fancy, but she had a big photo of herself on the front holding a potbelly pig. And she basically was like, this pig is our mascot. It comes with me. We buy the house, and people would be like, I want to see the pig. She had pictures of pigs all over this particular pig, like all over the website. And like, she just loved this pig. It was her pet, and she just got way into it. So she made it a huge part of her thing. And people would be like, the people, when they closed, they would take a picture with the pig and like, she put it on the website. It was like a whole thing. And she crushed, because I want to see a pig. I want to have a pig come over to my house if I'm selling my house. You know what I mean? It was just unique. It was different, and it was real, right? She really loved this pig. It's a real pig. So, and it had some amazing name called like Fernando or something, like Fernando the pig, right? So it doesn't have to be, I think investors have this idea that the best way to be viewed as legitimate is to sanitize everything. So my logo, I got this logo on Fiverr.com, and it's sort of like a little geometric thing that kind of looks like a house, and it's called like UtahHouseBuyersCash.com. And everything's like, we, the team at HouseBuyersCash.com, believe in blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I think more people would sell to somebody that was like, local moron buys houses. They're like, I don't know, man, I just love real estate. I just got, blah, blah, blah. Because for one, I think people think they'll get a better deal from some local doofus than they think they'll get from like UtahHedgeFund.org or whatever. And they can't connect. There's nothing to connect to, right, with that other approach.
Can you see the screen right now?
Recovering attorney buys home. I love it. It's like, call it like Legal Beagle buys homes and be like, I have a beagle and he's legal. And,
exactly. This is another fast hour. I want to ask you one last question because I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, for sure.
How has this pandemic changed advertising and marketing? Do you think it should change it?
As an industry in general, I think we're going to see a lot of people who are kind of fly by night just not be around anymore. So, I think that's a very real thing.
Is that healthy? By the way, believe me, I'm not unsympathetic to hardworking mom and pop restaurants and stores who are just getting devastated. My heart cries for them. But do you think sometimes a cleaning out of the marketplace is a healthy thing too?
I think yes. I think it's I'll go a step further and say, I think it's a natural thing, right? I think good times allow for fragility in business in general. And I'll say that to myself, right? Like when all this stuff happened, I was like, I suddenly found like $6,000 a month in expenses that I didn't need to spend, right? It's like, you just realize like fat times, you don't have to be lean and mean, right? And so I think now what's happening is a couple things. One, I think there's actually more room. If you are good at what you do, there's more room for you now than ever, because what people are looking for is some kind of leadership. People are looking for help.
I love that word.
And I will be shocked. It's like I have been going live on Facebook, posting on Facebook, going on shows like this, talking about what I do 5 times more than ever before. And when all this stuff started happening, I was just like, I'm going to share everything I know. I'm going to help as many people as possible. I'm not going to ask for a single thing in return because people are going to remember that. And I was like, I'm sure like I have competitors, anybody else. I was like, I'm sure my competitors will be doing the same. I haven't seen anybody, nobody, right? The number of people who are willing to step up and do that, really do it legitimately, is very small. So there's a huge opportunity there for people like that. And then I think the other thing is will the content change in terms of advertising with this change in culture, economics, the pandemic, socialization? Will the advertising have to change and become more, what was the word Justin used? Authentic, transparent, caring, softer? I think we as an industry will, and I think this has been happening for a long time. I think the pandemic just sped it. We are moving away from the idea that the sales cycle of a motivated seller is 1 or 2 phone calls long, right? We are moving to a place where you've got to start building an audience of people that, not an audience sort of puts it in like internet-y terms, but you've got to start building a following of people
following
who can trust you
before
they need to sell.
Say it again. Say that one more time. That was so brilliant.
So you've got to start building a following of people that know, like, and trust you before they need to sell. And that's a very different approach than what investors are used to, right? But it is what happened to every single other industry on earth. It happened to real estate agents. It's happening to pizza shops. It happens to lawyers. It's happening everywhere. What people want is to have a relationship with somebody. And investors haven't needed that. They haven't needed to do that. And I think that we do now. And it'll just be a stronger and stronger thing going forward. So my whole thing is like,
We have to stop taking the prospect. What is a prospect worth? And we have to stop taking them for granted.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's this movement towards this thing where you're not just worried about how this call is going to go. You're worried about how the call with that person is going to go in 5 years when they're actually ready for you. Right. And how do you set it up now so that 5 years from now, when that person's ready, they're like, I'm not going to sell to anybody but Claude. I wouldn't think about selling to Zillow. Why would I sell to Zillow when I have a relationship with Claude, right? That's what we need. And it's a very different style of marketing, but
you're once again, you're in my choir because, to me, I've always thought, give me a few quality people. Let me give them value. Don't ask. I'm a big fan. I know you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yep.
And one of my favorite books is Thank You Economy. And I thought he said it's a simple concept that he said it so brilliantly. Is thank you. Give to that prospect. Give them content. Give them information. Give them accountability. Give them even something else again. And once you have that loyalty and trust, it doesn't matter how much competition is out there. You're going to go back to that person you know and trust more than the guy who has the big advertising campaign or the big office or the fancy picture of a chicken over his store or something like. I think we're loyal creatures. Do we change barbers every month? No. Why?
Because you don't know what to expect, and you probably like the experience of going and sitting in the chair and chatting, and he's got a dog named Fernando or whatever, and you can have that little thing. It's more than just getting your hair cut, right? It's a whole experience, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the Cheers effect. Walking in, don't you love to go to a place where everyone knows your name? And to me, if you can give that or create that in people's mind through advertising, through the way you operate your business, you totally decimate your competition. My competition has tons of employees, big budgets, and everything. I'm just a little guy, but I do one thing well. I try to put out a lot of content, and I do a lot of follow-up and phone calls and things like that. And your marketing style, I believe, is very similar to that. On this, let's give you a plug here because you've shared so much information. We are so grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. That's awesome.
This is a great perspective you've opened up to us today. Tell us. I'm going to put your little link up here again. By the way, William Fusco says hello. He said great material. And William is in Connecticut also.
Cool.
And so, how do people find you? How do they learn more about you? Tell them a little bit.
There's a couple different ways. Everything you can get at AdWordsNerds.com. So that's kind of the place to be, AdWordsNerds.com. If you go to AdWordsNerds.com/group, that will take you to our Facebook group. It's free. It's called REI Marketing Nerds. I post in there every single day. I go live in there all the time. We've been sharing a lot of kind of COVID-19 market updates, sort of sharing what we see in our data set. So that's the place to get that, AdWordsNerds.com/group. And then Claude's going to be on my podcast. So if you want to check out the podcast, it's the REI Marketing Nerds podcast. You can just Google that, REI Marketing Nerds podcast. Anywhere fine podcasts are sold. You can even, this is true, ask Alexa to play you the REI Marketing Nerds podcast, and she will. So if you have that, you can do that. Ooh. I'll be piped into your kitchen or wherever you're doing it. I do it sometimes to torture my children. They hate it, so it's fun. Those are probably the best places. So the site, you can get everything, but the podcast group, Google around. Find me, man. I'm everywhere.
And that's REI Marketing
Nerds. REI Marketing Nerds. Yeah.
REI Marketing Nerds
podcast.
And it's a good podcast. And gosh, it's real expensive too, isn't it?
Oh my God. It's a whopping $0.00. If someone could tell me how to make money from a podcast, I'd maybe do it. But I gotta say, man, it is one of my favorite things that I do. It's a blast, and we are. I think we're at like 100 episodes. Are going to be there soon, so we've been going quite a while. And the other thing about it is that I really do my darndest to make it so that every episode is evergreen. So there's not really any episodes that are like current events or whatever. It's all going to be stuff that you could still get as much from episode 1 as you can get from episode 100. That's the goal.
Interesting. Dan, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. It goes fast, doesn't it? And remember what I always say, Nobody deserves success more than you good people. Stay healthy. Use this time at home. Doesn't mean business has to stop. Make those phone calls. Do your marketing that Dan was talking so much about today. Wonderful ideas and concepts. You can work from home. You can make phone calls. You can make a lot of money at this time of the year right now. Okay, business doesn't have to stop. The world has not stopped. We're still going around the sun here. Things still are, and we will recover. We're slowly climbing. How's Connecticut doing? Before I go, Connecticut really took a beating.
It'll be interesting, man. I'm not smart enough to really understand that stuff, but I know that I will say that the thing that really makes me feel good about all this stuff, like if you want to take the silver lining out of it, is that like everywhere I go, people standing 6 feet apart, wearing masks, like everybody does their part, right? I haven't really met anyone that's like, whatever. Like everyone is kind of pulling together to do the thing, at least around here. And so it's like you said, man, I don't know how we're doing right now. I guess we'll find out, but I'm optimistic in general. And like I said, I think there's so much opportunity for investors that want to take it. I think if you're on Claude's channel, you're already 9 miles ahead of everywhere else. So I'm not worried about you.
Mutual admiration club here. I love it. Dan Barrett, adwordnerds.com. Check him out. I did this morning. Here's his page. Good stuff on here. And you can also link from his webpage to the podcast. Dan, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, take care out there. Bye-bye, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.